This is the story of my biggest failure as a content creator, but how that failure has led to me having one of the biggest opportunities that I'll probably ever have in this business. For those of you who have been following along with my whole content creation journey since I began nearly, a year and a half ago now, maybe a little earlier than that, I always said that I'd keep people updated on the journey from the word go, and I stuck true to that at the very start. I made a 100 subscribers video where I talked about my journey so far and where I hoped to take things, and I believe I'd made another little update around just over a year ago, around the time I released The Last of Us piece. But since then, I've kept rather quiet, and the reason was, for the most part, is that I had no idea where I was going and whether my journey had already finished or just begun. It was in a very, very weird place. So I believe I owe you guys this video not just as a way to talk about my experiences over the last year and what has ultimately been a failure of a year for the most part, but I think it's also a good opportunity to talk to you about my future and the things that I'm excited about going forward in this business and what could potentially be my final year in really giving content creation its full go, depending on whether or not it works out. But I do feel really confident that things are going to come from this opportunity. So before we talk about our future, let's talk about the past. And I think it's fair to say, for all of you who've watched me and seen my journey, that the era, so to speak, of the Zep Zone was a failure. So this video is being recorded just at the end of September, and this time last year I was putting the finishing touches on a video that still to this day is my favorite video, one that I'm really glad that I made, and that was The Last of Us Part 2 video. And I made that video as a promise to myself that when I began, I always said that I wanted to do a deep dive, well-edited video on something that I'm passionate about. At the time when I made that video, I did think that I might be quitting YouTube, or that might be my last hurrah. So I wanted to kind of go out with a bang and create something that I had always wanted to create. So I had started that script in the March of that year, but I was in my final year of college and ended up going back to the script as soon as I had finished at the end of June. And by August time, I was working on the script every day and also plowing away at the video probably about 8 hours a day for 2 months straight, no breaks. And it was a great experience, but it was hell. It's something I always knew would be tough, but it was something I really, really wanted to do. And while I think there are parts of it, looking back, where I did get lazy in the end up, I'm overall very happy with the experience, or how I did it. It was my first ever time attempting a video like that. I didn't want it to be my last, but it could be at this point. Maybe in a few years' time I'll go back to start doing videos like that, but for now I have no intention to. It's over an hour long, 10,000 word script, edited myself, the pacing of it, the music, the gameplay footage, having to go through every piece of gameplay footage of The Last of Us 1 and 2. Now people would say part 1, but I made it way before part 1 came out. It was a really cool thing to do, again, and I'm very proud of it, but it was torture. So I got that video out, I believe, around the end of October last year, and at that point I began telling myself that I think I needed a bit of a rebrand to push forward. And the reason why I thought that was because my Twitch was not doing well, and I knew the live streaming aspect was going to be very important in terms of what I wanted to do in future. On Twitch, I just really didn't know how to play the game. I really wanted to do variety streams. At the time, I think I'd started playing the Sly Cooper game, which was a game series very close and dear to my heart. It's actually recently just hit the 20th anniversary of the first game, which is something that I think is really, really cool. But I wanted to do variety streams along with some of the Call of Duty I was playing, because I didn't intend to be playing Call of Duty as much at that point, and I wanted to be able to incorporate variety into my content in a way that would be successful, not just on YouTube but also on Twitch. But Twitch doesn't really cater to variety anymore. YouTube doesn't even really cater to variety. And it was also around this time I had also had the idea of trying to start doing reactions on the channel, or maybe I had done it already. I might be getting my timelines mixed up a little bit, but the reactions were doing really well, or were going to start doing really well on my YouTube channel and blow up that YouTube channel to the point where I could get partnered. But because of how YouTube works, you need to be doing similar content as to your last video for it to push you forward in the algorithm to people who enjoy those types of videos. So the more and more I realized that my reactionary content was becoming successful, the more I then knew that I could never really put gaming content onto that channel. And me looking to do a rebrand with the kind of era of Zeppelin fading out, I decided that I would really push ahead come after Christmas of that year and really knuckle down on the editing and create the Zep Zone, if you will. And let me just give you a quick run over what that was again in case you've forgotten. So the Zep Zone was going to incorporate essentially 4 main media outputs, maybe phasing in a TikTok. I did want to go on TikTok and Instagram, but I knew very quickly when I was doing it that I probably wouldn't have the time to put those in. So essentially what was going to happen was all the different types of things that I wanted to do and people wanted to watch would be streamed on Twitch, and the Twitch would be called the Zep Zone because it was the zone where all things Zep would happen. I had the main channel for reactionary content called Zep, a second channel that I created called Zep Gaming, which is where my variety gaming content would go, and then a third channel called Zep COD, where all the Call of Duty based content would go, as Call of Duty Vanguard was just about to come out at that point, and I wanted a place where I could put up all the Call of Duty content because I wanted to start creating best camos in the game, tiering camos and ranking gun ability and best classes, etc, etc. I thought there'd be a great opportunity there, so that's why I made that channel. The idea was that I would post 3 days a week on the main channel, 2 days a week on channel 2, and another 2 days a week on channel 3, meaning that overall I would have a video out every single day that would go across all 3 platforms, and this would be the Zep Zone. This would be all things Zep. This is Zep Gaming, Zep COD. All of it comes from Twitch, or sometimes I record things for the specific channels, but that is what it would encompass. These sort of 4 channels all being monetized, all earning a little bit of money, and that was going to be the future of my content. So I spent the majority of November and December completely revamping my graphics, which again was hell because after doing the Last of Us video, I'd begun to get sick of editing in general and doing this type of work. I began to realize that I felt more comfortable sitting in front of the camera and talking or trying to be entertaining, trying to be funny, trying to be informative. That's just where I felt more at home than kind of sitting at the back, putting all these things together and editing and trying to come up with new ideas in terms of how graphics would look, especially since I was completely untrained in how to do them. Even the things I'm currently working on now, which I'm excited about and will tell you about at the end of this video, it's still coming off the top of my head. I don't really have any specific training so where I know these things are going to pay off. It's just trial and error. Come the end of December, I got it all together and I made the big announcement. For those of you following me on Twitter, you'll know that I ranted and raved about the schedule that I had going, about the 3-2-2 in terms of video postings on to the channels. And come into January and February, I had gotten ahead on videos. I had recorded with the new overlays. I had the new Terminator game which I was playing through, a horror game I was playing through, and Call of Duty videos ready, all 2 weeks ahead on every single channel. So I knew I was never rushing if there was a case of where I may had to have missed a video for some reason. I was ahead of schedule, ready to go. The editing was on point, even though I was beginning to get a little tired of it throughout all this, but I was persevering and I was doing well. But that's when things began to go downhill. Come the end of January, or maybe actually mid-February, thinking back on it, I got COVID for the second time. And when I got COVID the first time, it did mess me up for a couple of days, but I quickly got back on my feet. But also around this time, and I have been for the last year or two, I'm having issues with physical health. Not massive issues, but little issues here and there. And when I got COVID for the second time, it really did seem to hit me for the long term this time. And not really in terms of me feeling sick or completely out of breath, but it hit me in the energy levels. After I had COVID for the second time, I was sleeping 14 hours a day and still feeling exhausted. And with that lack of energy that I've kind of always suffered from a little bit anyway, due to lack of things in my system like folate and all that, I completely lost the drive to edit. Like, completely. It was gone. I had no intention to edit. And still to this day, in terms of like mass editing videos, it's something that I could never think of doing. Whatever way my brain worked, where it just changed up after being sick, I completely lost that drive to sit down and edit for 4 or 5 hours a day. And I felt lousy at the beginning of March, and I ended up going back to the gym, and that's where my focus went for a while, was on my health. Getting up at 7 every morning, going to the gym with a mate of mine who was also a PT who done a fantastic job at introducing me to exercise. and showing me how to work out different things. He's a fantastic guy and he helped me out so much. And doing that exercise helped me get my energy levels back to the point where I felt like I could function like a normal human being again. But at that point, I was really beginning to question what I wanted to do. And my mind started going back to, well, am I just going to give up this content creation journey entirely? Because it's beginning to feel like it's going that way. The Zep Zone at that point had already really began to stink of failure. I was uploading well enough from time to time on the main channel, which was earning me a tiny bit of revenue, but still a little bit of revenue. Although people weren't always happy with the videos that I was posting on the main channel, which is, by the way, what the channel that this video should be on. People weren't always happy with my reactions to the music that I was posting because I've a tendency to be harsh. It's something that I'm not overly apologetic for, but there just came a point, I think, where I'd done a batch of recordings where I wasn't in a good mood. Those recordings went up over the period of week and a half to 2 weeks, and people were not happy with the videos over that 2 weeks, which was understandable. I didn't post on the other two channels. The Twitch streaming began to just feel like there was no point. It was going out to no viewers. No one was watching. I didn't really know what I wanted to play other than really Call of Duty, because even my time playing other games just seemed to vanish completely. Again, not due to me being necessarily busy. I just all of a sudden lacked the motivation to get back into playing other games. Even the Sly games, which are my all-time favorite childhood games, I never got back into finishing them in my own time or on the streams. So something had just really flipped to where I just wasn't enjoying what I was doing anymore. And even the reaction videos, it's like, yes, I always do enjoy doing reactions, but I never wanted that to be the main thing of my journey on content creation. I always wanted it to be something where it was there to do in my spare time and my fun time while doing the stuff I'm truly passionate and serious about. So I really began to reach a point where I had no clue what I wanted to do. So at that point it was a failure, but this is where the success begins to come into it. Through what could only be described as pure coincidence, I ended up playing in the ACCL for a while, which was an amateur Call of Duty league for people who don't know. I'm going to presume for the most part that people who are watching these videos now, but given the community that I'm involved in, know of the ACCL and everything like this. So I'm not going to explain everything, but if you're someone who's used to watching my reaction content and you may not know what I'm talking about, sometimes I do apologize, but I just don't want this video to be like super long. So I played in the ACCL with people for a while during that time, I think of March or April, and then that all kind of went to hell, as playing Call of Duty normally can. And I had been debating for quite a while after talking to people as well, like Gibson Casts. I'd really like to try and give this casting game a business. I can rant for ages talking about absolute nonsense. I believe I have a decent voice, mainly because I've just been told it by people throughout the years, that I thought I'd have maybe something to give to the casting journey and or the casting experience, and my experience also in creating videos on YouTube and the kind of production end of it, and now with sort of my knowledge of how content like this should be pushed in terms of going forward. I believe that I could use the production side of it to really up the quality of the casting experience. I had a good mic to work with. This is a better mic since then. I have good lighting. I knew how to make graphics. I thought, why not give this a go? So I ended up going back into the ACCL and registering as a caster, which again, for those of you who don't know casting, Call of Duty commentating, or casting would be esports commentating, but in this case it was for Call of Duty. And when I started doing that, I not only found that I was really enjoying it, even though it was something I was really nervous about starting. Again, I've no idea why, but even still doing casts that half an hour before I start, I get quite nervous. I don't particularly know why, because I feel like as soon as I get into it, I'm quite confident, but it's that leading up to it where I get a bit jittery. But I ended up going in, doing it, really liking it, getting good views from it because people were actually watching the games. And more than that, people were telling me that I was doing a really good job, and for all the issues the ACCL did have, the people who were in it, who are at least watching my games, whether they be players or org owners, really made me feel sort of safe and comfortable in the fact that I was doing a decent job, which I was really not sure if I would be able to do a decent job or not, but these guys really just made me feel like I was on the right path after such a long time of feeling like I was on no path. And I'll always be grateful for that. That's why, like, everyone will have the issues with the ACCL, but in terms of how some people were in it, I'll never have any huge issues with it because it gave me an opportunity to go into something that I love, because I had such a passion for playing, but I could never really find a 4 that I could grind with, and I was always kind of a team player, so I could never really show off on my own in terms of my skill, and I could never just really get into a 4. I wasn't that good to go near challenger level, which I feel like maybe at certain times I could have, but it was missed opportunities. But this casting gave me a chance to be involved in this thing without necessarily having to play, and doing something I enjoy still, which is talking about things. Again, you watch my reactions, you know I enjoy talking about stuff. So this was something that I really enjoyed doing, started pushing forward in, and a lot of people who watch me now know that this is the path that I'm going ahead with. So this is the part where I need to talk to you about what's going to happen with this channel and the future of this channel. If you are someone who enjoys the reaction content on this channel, which is what the majority of people are here for, don't worry, I'm under no delusions about that, who are on the channel at least. Maybe there'll be a couple of people watching this video who I've pushed it out to, you know, who watch my other things, but the reaction content is going to be moving from this channel. This channel is going to be turning into a different name with a different style of content. Most of you can already presume what that content is going to be, but in terms of the name of the channel and the look of the channel, I'm not going to give that away just yet, because we are still in very, very early phases of getting that ready. But it's looking like that change will probably happen by the end of October or early November, and that change will not only encompass different types of videos on this channel. In fact, the majority of what will encompass is live streams on this channel. The era of the Zep Zone is not only ending, but the being Zep and Zep Zone on Twitch is coming to an end. I have made the decision that I am going to switch over to doing streaming content on YouTube, and a lot of that is going to be done on this channel. And this channel is also going to have way more shorts being put on it, and the shorts, of course, will encompass what's going on those live streams. And those live streams not only will be saved as VODs in probably a tiered subscription service, which will be more fleshed out in future, but there will also just be videos posted of the same vein on the channel, edited videos most likely, but the majority of it will be shorts, which would either be original shorts or content also pulled over from my TikTok, which I'm working more on now, and just the live streams. And all the reaction content is going to go over onto a second channel, which I'm happy to reveal the name of now, although I've no graphics ready for it yet, or I don't even know if I'm going to change any particular graphics for it. I may just keep the graphics as Zep, or the ones that people are used to seeing with the reaction content, but that channel is going to be Zep Reacts, and that is where all the reaction content is going to go up. The reaction content will most likely not be daily. There may not be a whole lot of consistency to it, because again, it'll be something that's done secondary to what I will be doing on this main channel, and I still don't know how busy I'll be on this main channel. It sort of depends how things work out, but I do have a feeling I will be pretty busy most nights. And when it comes to the other channel, I'd hope to do music reactions, but also phase in maybe movie and TV show reactions. I've talked about doing that before, but I may also do that in a sort of tiered subscription service, or even on a Patreon. And in terms of how I'll do the music reactions, because again, people were having issues with the fact that I was listening to the music without audio, but then, you know, giving a link for people to the audio so that they could listen to the music while I was reacting to it. Again, I know people didn't like that, but in terms of how my content was monetized in the stats, all the videos that done reasonably well in that format earned way more than any of even my best videos that were getting claimed because I had the music in them that I was reacting to. So it does make more sense to do that, but then maybe lock the listening to it along with music behind maybe a very, very small paid tier subscription, like a quid or two. I'm not talking a full payment service whatsoever, but those are ideas I'm still bouncing around, and none of them is finalized. But the hope will be that I have 2 fully monetized YouTube channels doing this type of content across them, where the content that I want to stream onto my main YouTube channel will be getting good views and therefore some decent monetization. And then the secondary channel will hopefully have good monetization, because I'll be doing the reaction content on that as well. And the TikTok, rather than trying to pull people here, there, and everywhere, we'll be just trying to pull people onto one of the 2 YouTube channels. And then the shorts going up on YouTube also link directly back to the YouTube channel. So there's way more having to drag people from there's way less having to drag people from A to B, because they're just already going to be on the platforms that I'm solely working on. And that is the future of my content going forward. I'm really excited to get into it. There's a lot of things I still have to work on yet, so it's sort of almost a sense of dread as well, you know, because there's so much to work on to get done. I'm also moving house as well, which is why, you know, the background's changed. I've had to move to a temporary setup in the house as we get ready to gut things out and move. There's sort of a lot of uncertainties currently in my personal life, which is just making things very difficult, because it could not have come at a worse time. In fact, the time that we're actually supposed to be moving house is the time that not only I'll be at Gamerfest in Dublin, but in that same week, the new Call of Duty will be coming out. So over that span period of 14 days, I'll be away for 3 days, and then trying to make content for a new Call of Duty, which would need a lot of my time. So it's gonna be tough. But I'm really looking forward to getting into it. I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a good time, and I cannot wait to get into it. And I think that's where I'm going to leave this video. I think it's a good place to leave it, where, you know, my successes are coming from my biggest failures. And I suppose that's the message I want to leave this video on, in terms of the updates of where my content has gone, is that if you're a content creator who's finding that something that they're doing isn't working, just be smart, be patient, have faith, try and innovate, and you may find something. There's no guarantee, but you may find something comes from what you thought would be the end of you. I thought doing that Last of Us video would be my last hurrah. I thought then the rebrand to ZepZone would work so well, and it failed miserably due to circumstances of my own making and outside of my own doing. And then from that, where I'd almost essentially given up because I just didn't feel it anymore, I'm now on a path in the content creation space where I genuinely feel so excited to see where it goes, because I think I can push it to a very far level. I mean, I've even had the opportunity of working on Splitgate once for a live stream, where I got the opportunity to cast with Vrax, who is a very, very cool caster, and opportunities are just beginning to make themselves present, and that is something that I'm super grateful for. And I'm grateful for you guys sticking along and watching the content and giving me that opportunity, and the people who then told me that, hey, keep going, you're doing a good job. And that's how really the casting grew, was that people, they just reaffirmed, you know, they helped me reaffirm my belief in myself and what I was doing. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you off, probably, most likely. Actually, I'm going to edit. I'm going to leave you off with a little teaser as to what the next logo will be for the channel. No name reveals yet, but the logo I'll put at the end of this video. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for being on this journey with me. And I'm looking forward to introducing you into this next era. And I hope it'll be the best era yet. Take care. Peace.